Tip of the tongue. You walk into a room and recognize a famous actor. You know his face, you know his movies, but his name simply refuses to appear. This is the tip of the tongue phenomenon, often shortened to TOT. Your brain knows the information exists, but temporarily cannot retrieve it. Psychologists classify this as a retrieval failure, rather than forgotten knowledge. The memory is still stored somewhere deep in your brain. Strangely, partial clues usually remain available. You might remember the first letter, a similar sound, or the exact number of syllables. That partial data proves your memory is vastly closer than it feels. Researchers have studied TOT for decades because it reveals a startling truth. Human memory works much more like a search engine than a structured filing cabinet. Sometimes that internal search simply stalls out. Here is the part that actually matters. Every time you experience this, you are witnessing the separation between storage and access. You own the data. You just lost the key. Digital amnesia? Think about the last time you memorized a phone number. You probably cannot remember one. Psychologists call this digital amnesia, or cognitive offloading. People now shift intense mental work onto smartphones, cloud storage, and search engines instead of relying on biology. Your brain is not becoming weaker, it is adapting. It saves energy for information it expects technology to hold instead. This shift gained massive attention after smartphones became everyday tools. They changed how millions store facts, directions, birthdays, and even grocery lists. Studies suggest people now remember where information lives, better than the information itself. Your brain increasingly treats Google like an external hard drive. Here is the catch that makes this terrifying. That sounds incredibly convenient until your battery dies or your signal drops. Suddenly, you realize you cannot recall crucial details you assumed would always be one tap away. We are walking around with empty minds, trusting glass screens to hold the memories we chose to abandon completely, just for pure daily convenience today. Déjà vu? Imagine visiting a place for the very first time. Yet every single detail feels strangely familiar. It feels almost as if you have already lived that exact moment. That unsettling sensation is called déjà vu, which is French for already seen. Researchers estimate that most healthy adults experience it at least once, especially during their teens and 20s. Although it feels deeply mysterious, modern neuroscience suggests a fascinating cause. The experience probably happens when brain systems responsible for familiarity and conscious memory briefly fall completely out of sync. One leading explanation proposes that your brain accidentally labels a brand new experience as something already stored. This creates an overwhelming illusion of recognition without an actual memory behind it. Here is the part nobody expects. Frequent déjà vu can sometimes help scientists study memory processing. In rare situations, it provides crucial clues about underlying neurological conditions. That one confusing moment reveals how remarkably fragile and complex the human brain truly is during every single waking moment you exist. Jamais vu. Now flip déjà vu completely upside down. Jamais vu, which is French for never seen, happens when something deeply familiar suddenly feels completely unfamiliar. Imagine staring at your own signature until it looks fake, or repeating a simple word until it seems utterly meaningless. Instead of falsely recognizing something new, your brain temporarily loses its normal sense of familiarity with something you know extremely well. This creates a brief but surprisingly unsettling disconnect. Researchers believe jamais vu may occur when repeated exposure momentarily disrupts the automatic processing inside your mind. It forces everyday information into conscious awareness, where it suddenly feels alien and strange. Scientists have even triggered similar experiences in laboratory experiments by asking volunteers to write the same common word dozens of times. Here is the twist that lingers. Your brain can question reality without anything around you actually changing. It happens simply because familiarity itself briefly breaks down completely, leaving you lost inside your very own living room, without warning signs appearing at all. Memories. Most people assume memories work, like video recordings, capturing events exactly as they happened. In reality, psychologists have shown that memory is highly reconstructive. Your brain rebuilds experiences every single time you recall them, instead of replaying a perfect copy. That process is usually helpful, but it also creates false memories. This is where someone sincerely remembers details or entire events that never actually happened. One influential researcher, Elizabeth Loftus, demonstrated that carefully worded suggestions could convince volunteers they remembered fake experiences. These ranged from seeing broken glass at a car crash to childhood events that never occurred. Participants were not lying. Their brains genuinely accepted the altered memories as totally authentic. Here is the reality check that changes everything. Absolute confidence does not guarantee accuracy. This explains why eyewitness testimony, cherished family stories, and even your own most vivid recollections can feel absolutely certain, while still containing massive mistakes. Your brain quietly invented those mistakes over time, without ever asking your conscious permission to do so. Post-event misinformation. Imagine witnessing a traffic accident, then hearing someone casually mention a stop sign that was never there. Days later, you may honestly remember seeing that sign yourself. This is the misinformation effect. New information received after an event quietly changes the original memory, instead of simply adding to it. Psychologist Elizabeth Loftus famously demonstrated this by showing volunteers videos of car crashes and later asking questions with slightly different wording. A single verb, such as smashed instead of hit, made participants more likely to report broken glass that never appeared. The surprising part is that the brain often blends the original experience with later conversations. News reports, social media posts, or leading questions merge into one seamless memory. Here is the disturbing consequence. This is why investigators must carefully interview eyewitnesses. Every single retelling has the immense potential to reshape what people genuinely believe they saw with their own two eyes. Your memory is always listening, and it is always taking terrible new notes for you. Flashbulb memory glitch? Ask almost any American where they were during the September attacks, and many can instantly describe the room. They remember the people nearby and what they were wearing. These intensely emotional recollections are known as flashbulb memories because they feel as vivid as photographs frozen in time. For years, scientists believed extraordinary events created unusually accurate memories. Decades of research revealed a far more surprising reality. Psychologists repeatedly followed people after major national tragedies and compared their original accounts with versions recorded years later. Although participants remained extremely confident, many details gradually changed without them noticing. Locations, conversations, and timelines shifted. The emotional importance of the event strengthened their confidence much more than their accuracy. Here is the part that stings. Emotional intensity does not protect recollections from severe distortion. Your brain remembers the significance of life-changing moments remarkably well. Yet the smaller details quietly shift over time, leaving you absolutely certain about memories that are no longer completely true anymore for you to trust. Source amnesia and cryptomnesia. Have you ever shared an idea that felt completely original, only to discover someone else mentioned it weeks earlier? Your brain may not be stealing the idea at all. Instead, it could be experiencing source amnesia. You accurately remember information but forget where it came from. Once that missing source disappears, the memory can feel like your own fresh thought. A closely related phenomenon is cryptomnesia. This happens when forgotten memories quietly return, disguised as original creations. Researchers have documented cases involving writers, musicians, and scientists who unintentionally repeated existing ideas while sincerely believing they invented them independently. Because the content remains available while the source fades away, the brain accidentally disconnects knowledge from its history. Here is the part that flips your perspective. Creativity often builds from countless hidden memories collected over years. Some of your most brilliant ideas may actually be forgotten pieces of conversations, books, or podcasts your brain silently stored long before you ever believed they were entirely your own creation. Confabulation. Imagine asking someone what they did yesterday, and they confidently describe a detailed afternoon that never actually happened. They are not joking, exaggerating, or trying to deceive you. In cases of confabulation, the brain automatically fills missing pieces of memory with believable stories. The person genuinely accepts those stories as reality because they cannot recognize the gaps their mind is repairing. Confabulation is most commonly associated with brain injuries, strokes, or disorders affecting memory, including Korsakoff syndrome. Damage to memory systems leaves the brain struggling to reconstruct a complete timeline. Instead of leaving empty spaces, the mind unconsciously creates logical details that fit the situation. This makes conversations sound surprisingly convincing. Researchers believe this happens because the brain constantly tries to maintain a coherent narrative about the world. Here is the most unsettling part. Confidence offers no clue whether the story is accurate. Someone can sincerely believe every word they say, reminding us that the human brain values creating complete stories over preserving the objective truth behind them. The Mandela Effect. What if thousands, or even millions, of people remembered the exact same thing, yet reality said they were all wrong? That unsettling phenomenon is known as the Mandela Effect. Researcher Fiona Broom discovered many people shared the false memory that Nelson Mandela died in prison during the 80s. He was actually released and became president later. Since then, countless examples involving movie quotes, famous logos, and children's books have fueled endless debates worldwide. Psychologists explain this as the result of reconstructive memory, shared cultural influences, and repeated exposure to incorrect information. Your brain naturally fills missing details with patterns that feel familiar. Social media amplifies the effect because people repeatedly reinforce inaccurate memories until they seem unquestionably true. Internet theories love invoking alternate universes, but no science supports that. Here is the brutal logic underneath it. Memory is never simply a perfect record of the past. It is an active process that quietly rewrites itself every single time we dare to look at our past lives.